Hello, Jamie from Inky and Scrappy, sharing with you today my first official make of Halloween 2022. Yes, I made this on August 1st. I love Halloween. It's the bomb. Welcome back to all of my subscribers. If you are new here or you have yet to subscribe to the channel, please consider doing so as it helps the channel out. And I'm bringing in some old ones. So I'm using Tim Holtz Frightful Things die set, and then of course my Lawn Fawn stitched mug and stitched mug frame, because it is going to be shaker season today, baby. I absolutely adore pulling out all of my Halloween stuff. I have a lot of Halloween stuff, and I don't usually buy a whole lot of new stuff. I'll probably pick up a few things this year, but I try to hold out on buying all of the Halloween things because I really want them all, but you know, A, I can't use them all, and B, my stash is rather extensive when it comes to Halloween anyway, so I usually limit myself to only a couple of new Halloween things. I have die cut all of my images, I guess, out on some white cardstock here, and I'm going to be coloring them today with some alcohol markers. So I use a combination of Ohuhu markers and my Copics today. I can't say that I love one over the other. I love the bullet nib on my Ohuhus. I do love Copics' blending abilities for bigger images, if that makes sense. But really, when we come to die cut images, that big bold tip on the Ohuhus works just as well as a brush tip. And so, you know, it's really preference. And if you are new to alcohol ink coloring, or you need work on shading and those types of things, doing it on die cut images, I feel, makes it easier because you don't have to stay inside the line. You're just cutting, or you're just coloring on a die cut image. And so I find to me it's relaxing, and it's fun coloring because I don't have to worry about staying inside the lines. So I'm just dark rounding the outside, lighter as we go into the center, and then making sure to get a good blend there. By doing 2 layers, a lot of times will give you a better blend. And then adding in all of my darks where I want the deepest shadows, and then blending it out from there. So these were fairly quick work for the most part. I don't worry about coloring on my work surface. It is a glass mat, and so I will just take a alcohol wipe when I am all done to clean off any ink that might be on my surface. So Halloween is definitely my favorite holiday, probably because nobody's expecting me to get them a card. Nobody's expecting me to do anything, you know, aside from buy candy and give it out. But we live in the country, so we don't even do that. There are the colors that I use to color all of my images today, or my die cut shapes today. So if you are interested, I will put that picture on my blog so you can see it. And then I'm just going to do some piecing together here. So cutting apart that spider so that body is raised up, and then I'm going to add some glossy accents to my spider's body. Not his legs, just his body. And then I did have to set this off to the side and not touch it until it was dry because, yeah, I tend to mess that stuff up because my patience level is not there. So, and for the witch, I cut apart her dress from her stockings on the second one. This allowed me to color my images and not have to worry about overlap on the other things. And then just taking that darkest shade around the outside on the top and bottom of the skirt so you don't have a white line there. And then adding that brim to the hat. And then for my broom here, the handle is actually cut from a scrap piece of cardstock that was wood grained. You will see another wood grain piece later on. And so the only things that I added distress ink to, besides my actual finished background on the card, was those whipped pieces and then the skull and the bone that I used later on, just a little bit to add some more depth and dimension to it without using the markers. I didn't feel that I needed to try to blend those with the alcohol inks. And then for my frame here, I'm going to do some little dot adhesive on the back side here. And then a hot tip for today. I did not have enough real estate on that 6x6 piece to do a second mug cutout, actually a third mug cutout, because I had done two and I had decided that I did not like that pattern paper for this one. I just thought it took away from the witch. And so I did the backside, which was that, it was like a marbled orange look. I don't want to say marble, but it was a patterned orange, but it was a subtle pattern. And so I didn't have enough real estate to do a full second mug for this actual card. And so I cut off the handle partway. And so I cut it off of my background piece, and it actually made putting that mug shaker together a whole lot easier because I didn't have to worry about lining up the handle. So that's my hot tip for today, is to cut off that mug handle, because it ends up making putting the shaker together a whole lot easier. My other request would be the companies that make this 1/8 inch foam adhesive strips, do it in black. It fits perfectly to do 2 strips, so it ends up being a 1/4 inch wide along my mug frame here, but it was so close, and if it would have been in black, it wouldn't have been nearly as nerve-wracking, because I think it would have blended better and not stuck out if it was hanging over. So that's my request to the industry at large. Make those skinny foam strips in black as well as white. I want them both, but I want them in black too. I'm adding in some shaker bits here, some clay coffee beans, and then some diamond dot refills in like a mocha, like a deep dark brown color. They're a super cheap way to get those gems for shakers. I think what do they cost? Like $2 for that whole tube. And then some alcohol ink colored is it rock candy glitter or rock glitter? I don't know. Tim Holtz Distress Glitter. And then there is my shaker mug all put together, the mug part of it. My other tip for putting together a shaker is to remove that adhesive protector on the back before you put your bits in there, because if you're like me and you're trying to remove it and it ends up bumping or knocking it, and then you get glitter or sequins or whatever is in your shaker on your foam, it doesn't work as good, right? So if you do it before you put your shaker bits in, it definitely helps make putting those shakers together a lot easier. So now it's just time to decorate my mug. And so I had cut out the spider web out of some very thin vellum. I've had this vellum for, as many years as I've been married, because I bought it for my wedding invitations. I actually have a whole ream, or I bought a ream of it. So it's what I have on hand. I probably have a lifetime supply. So I did adhere it with some liquid glue. I put it on a piece of scratch paper just to kind of suck up some of that glue. So when I pulled it off, it was a very thin layer of glue, so it doesn't seep out and get onto my acetate sheet. The thing with glue on acetate, it kind of leaves a cloudy residue, and so that was what I was avoiding there. And now I'm just trying to figure out some placement. I should have put the broom on the back of the mug piece before I did the shaker. I thought about using it as like my stir stick in my coffee cup, but I forgot before I put it together, so it can't go where I was originally planning for it to go. I mean, it could, but it's just not the same if the handle's not actually in the coffee cup. I know, this is just my analytical brain saying it doesn't work. It would have worked just fine. So I'm adding the witch's hat onto the back, and when I flipped it back around, I was like, ooh, I have this orange, I don't know what to call it. It's this particular stuff is from close to my heart. It's super old. I have no clue where to get it, but I'm sure they sell it by a spool somewhere. And I need it in all hair colors because it's just like the coolest looking hair stuff. It's like curly, crimpy hair, and the purple or the orange is like perfect for witch hair. But I suppose green or purple would work too, right? Probably. When I'm out of orange, you better believe you're going to be seeing the purple even before I'm out of orange. But Eustace hair, because yeah, it's just And those 1-inch lines that instantly bond do not instantly bond. Let's just say it now. That's where my distrust of glue dots come in. Because yeah, it took a long time to get those to actually stick to paper. They stuck to the hair better than they did to the paper. I don't even know why. It was issues. Issues, I tell you, issues. So I have my witch carrying her big old cup of joe here, and of course, if she's gonna have whip in her coffee, she's gonna need some sprinkles, and witches won't have regular sprinkles, they're gonna have eyeball sprinkles. So these clay bits were also bought on the same Etsy site that I got the coffee beans from. If anyone is interested, I will definitely look it up for you and post it in the description box below. But let me know, because let's be honest, I'm not going to put in the work to find it if nobody wants to know. So I'm just adding in my little bone here. We'll call them candy bones and candy skulls. I don't know if they were real ones or not. I don't want to know. But that skull almost looks like it would fit like on the underside of that hat. Like I could make a skeleton witch, couldn't I? Things that make me go, I did debate putting the eyeball in the skeleton, but I decided against it in the end. I'm still waiting for my spider to dry, so that's why he's not on there yet. And then I need to comb my hair because it's kind of wild and crazy, like it always is, a little wild and crazy. And then I hadn't had an end result for my actual image to sit on. I was kind of figuring I'd do either a slimline or 5x7, but I wanted to see how tall it was going to end up being once it was done. And so it was a fairly good height, and so I decided to go with a slimline. So I'm taking a scratch piece of paper here. It's I think it's 4 inches wide by 8.5 at this point. I just inked up at the Tim Holtz Tiny Text Halloween text and clear embossed that onto that white piece of cardstock. I'm pretty sure it's Accent Opaque 120, the same thing I used for my witch die cutting. And I'm just going in with my Distress Oxides in Crackling Campfire, Black Soot, and then Villainous Potion here. I'm kind of cleaning off the ink that's sitting on top of that clear embossing powder, because otherwise it was contaminating my other blending brush. I mean, you still get a little bit of cross because it's not all the way dry, but the orange one was the one that I could tell it the most. So I just made sure to clean off my letters in between my blending there. And truthfully, this blending took me about 2.5 minutes in real time. It went super fast. I did just redo, I think I reduced my pads probably end of May, beginning of June, somewhere in there. So they are super saturated, and it does make blending a whole lot easier. So if blending is not your thing because you have a hard time, definitely re-ink your ink pads. It helps a lot. So there is that wood grain cardstock. I batch do my wood grain cardstock, so I couldn't even tell you for sure the colors. I'm pretty sure it's vintage photo and walnut stain in distress ink. Not and I think I just use distress reinkers to do when I do my larger, I do a whole bunch because it's something that I use frequently, and this way I have it on hand and I don't have to make that mess every time. It's kind of one of those batch things that I do. And then for my witch, I did end up popping her up using some double-sided adhesive on a foam craft sheet on both sides. I'm just using scraps. So use what you got on hand, right? And then I did press the top of the hat, the broom, and the tip of the shoes down flat to my surface. And so it actually kind of gives it a little bit more of a depth and dimension because it's kind of, it's kind of rounded and smooth there. I don't know. It turned out cool. And for my sentiment on this one, I'm pulling the word witch from Witch Hat from Colorado Craft Company, and then I'm bringing in the Shake It Off stamp set from Honeybee Stamps. I do not know if that one is still available. I got mine on clearance at scrapbook.com last year sometime, so I don't know if you can still get it or not. So behind every successful witch. So I just selectively stamped that and cut off the person. And then I die cut that out using Lawn Fawn's simple sentiment banners. I do believe that's what they are. And then cut off the flags on both ends so it fits underneath my witch on the front of the card. And then for the inside of the card, behind every successful witch is a substantial amount of coffee. So thank you so much today for joining me in my first Halloween card of 2022. Make sure to follow me on Instagram at Inky and Scrappy, as I will probably be making more than I actually do videos of because I love doing Halloween. Thank you so much for joining me, and keep getting inky.